Hi everyone, and welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. In this episode, we are off to the mighty Hawkesbury River, chasing big blue-nosed bream with the guys and girls from the New South Wales Tournament Series, which is obviously brought to you by Atomic. All right, this was run and won on the 26th of April in 2026. It was an interesting round with a couple of father and son teams, with one of the things I really like coming up trumps on the podium. Anyway, let's roll the intros. We'll get through the bite periods and what have you, and we can get into the angler interviews. Here we go.
Welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. This is where you need to be every Tuesday to find out all the latest tips and tricks to help you target bream on lures. You'll get to hear from some of Australia's elite bream competition anglers and see how they were able to achieve their results in competitions around the country. Now, here is your host, the 2019 Hobie Kayak Fishing World Champion, Andrew Deeth.
All right. So this one was the Force Lures round 2. I think Force Lures is a new sponsor just jumping on board this year. Definitely worth a look if you jump onto the forcelures.com.au. Some great stuff there. And some stuff which I've really used. I particularly like the Ziggy, and some of the worm hooks are pretty good too. Anyway, this one, what I might do, we'll get into the bite period. So it was pretty low. So it was 34 in the fish activity wheel. And when you listen to the anglers, they talked about a timid bite. So maybe that had something to do with it. The major bite period was at 6:23 through to 8:53, with a minor bite period at 1:41 through to 3:11. So right in the back end of the session. And if you listen to, I think, Tim's second place, I think that plays into it a little bit there. Now, low tide was at 10:30 at 0.22, running up to a high tide at 4:42 at 1.34. All right, let's get into the angler interviews. Here we go. Okay, so next up in a second place, I have a team on the podium for the second time in a row. In third place, they landed 5 fish for 4.06 kilos. I have Mitch and Mat Simonis. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Thank you, mate. We came third, though, but yeah, thanks, mate.
All right, well, I got that wrong. So third this time. Well, there you go. I've upgraded you. Look, it's good to have you guys back on. It was a good chat we had last time, and you said leading into this it was pretty similar. So I guess we'll have a listen and see. Tell us about pre-fishing. Did you guys get out and have a bit of a look around?
Yeah, definitely. Same thing as we usually do. We usually do our 2 weeks beforehand on the Sunday. So we fished, just looking for sort of seeing if we could get that 5 fish limit. We just wanted our bag. That was the main thing.
And for you guys, is a Hawkesbury somewhere you fish much?
I just in comps mainly, and obviously a bit of pre-fishing. We don't do much social, I guess, anymore. The comps sort of take a lot of our time up. We're sort of trying to work out if we fish the bottom of the river or the top end of the river. That was sort of the key, I guess, for the day.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, with like Sydney hasn't had a lot of rain in the last few months, so I assume that affects the Hawkesbury quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely did.
Very good. All right. Well, let's roll in to comp day. Tell us about your day. How did you start getting into them?
Well, in pre-fish, we knew that we were catching fish. Yeah, so we went and checked the top end of the river, had a look, and obviously, like I said, to look for those numbers of fish. And we found the fish, but it was the same sort of tide, obviously, but it was running a lot faster, a lot quicker. So we struggled to actually get down to the bottom a lot of the time.
Okay.
So we were chucking on. I was trying to use crabs. I could not get a crab to the bottom to save my life. So we switched to using blades, and that was the only thing we could sort of actually get to the bottom and catch fish on. So we had, Dad makes these big, heavy blades, and we were trying to get them to the bottom. And yeah, for comp day, it was just a different story. It was a lot, slower tide, and the crabs came back into play. So yeah, straight up the top end of the river, and yeah, just the key was just getting them to the bottom.
Okay. And what sort of, like, obviously you're fishing current flow. Were you looking at rocky edges, or what were you sort of fishing?
Yeah, well, you go have a chat about that, Dad.
Yeah, well, it's all definitely rocky bottom. So we weren't fishing the edges. We were fishing maybe like 6 to 10 metres, I guess, 6 to 12 metres deep, just looking for rough bottom. Like I said, in the pre-fish, if we could get a lure down and keep it in the strike zone, we'd get like fish straight away. Just trying to get in there. That pre-fish was difficult with the tide, but it was all different on comp day. It was a bit slower. They weren't interested in the blades. I like using the blades, and I usually get the bigger fish on the blades, but I didn't get one fish on the blades all day, even though I tried a good part of the day. So, yeah, just mainly the deep, rocky bottoms.
Mm-hmm. So if you were struggling on the blades, so Mitch, were you getting them on the crabs? Were you actually getting them to take them?
Yeah, correct. That was so I pretty much started on the crab and used that all day, really. I don't think I switched. It was the difference, I suppose. It was pretty much the difference, really, yeah. And I feel like it wasn't so much because the blades weren't attracting the bites, but the blades, the weight of them makes it a lot tougher for them to not get caught up on the bottom and actually stay in that strike zone. It's a lot of getting them snagged, picking back up. It was just too slow. Like, the key was for the blade to work was it to be running a lot harder. So I think that was the difference in that aspect.
Mm. And with your crabs, like, I assume, like, if you've got current flow there, I assume you're kind of trying to drift back on the current using the electrics to slow you down. Is that how that looks, or you're working upriver?
Yeah, you're always using the drift, but it's not necessarily, you don't have to use the electric. Like, yeah, sometimes you like moving it to just move you off the bank. You're drifting into the bank, or it just depends on the layout of the land, I suppose, that in that aspect. But if you just sort of cast it just a little bit up, and your crab slowly catches up to you, really. That's basically it. But like I said, you want to stay in that strike zone, and it's the deeper you're in there, the longer that you're feeling that crab on the rock, the more chance you got of hooking up.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. And in terms of fish, did you start getting them early?
Yeah, first spot. I think we caught our first 3. I think we got our first 3 off the first spot.
Mm-hmm.
I got one on a vibe first up, just fishing the 6 metres. I was fishing the edge, giving the edge a try, just using my little black vibes, and I got one first up on that. But just the drift, current was too hard for those little lures, so
yeah,
I gave that away.
And then back to the crab after that, and yeah, 2 off the bottom. I think a couple more boats pulled up on our spot. It's just the Spencer, the usual rock walls there, and we decided to move along.
Yeah, fair enough. And what sort of size did you get up early? Did you get any decent ones?
I don't think our first couple were any massive size. We might have got one at 30, but the rest of them weren't that big.
No, all 27s, 26s, very small. A lot of schoolfish. I'm mainly all schoolfish. We slowly upgraded during the morning.
And in terms of being up in that sort of area, did you stay there for long, or did you move off, or what you get up to?
Yeah, so we upgraded our whole bag till it was a bag full of 31s and 132. And that was pretty much just fishing that same rocky bottom, same terrain, just trying to look for those same. We were just looking for bigger bites, really, but it was just the same school like fish. We probably caught 10 over 30, or I probably caught 10 over 30.
I got one.
Wow. Yeah, there was one in the bag at the end of the day, actually. You're right.
Yeah.
It was a lot of the same type of fish. We couldn't get those kickers whatsoever. So I think at about 11:30, we decided to switch it up.
Okay. While this is going on, are you guys keeping score with each other? What's happening there?
He was trying to catch me up. It wasn't me. I wasn't trying to keep score too much. I was just thinking about the bigger picture. But I know he wanted to catch me up. But
I was trying. There was a couple of Jew fishermen there fishing near us using 5-inch paddle tails. They just spot locked and were throwing up the current and like jerking back down to the boat. And all the guy could catch was Bream 37s and 39s. And he goes, I can't get a Jewfish. And so that's why I thought I didn't have any big jig heads to get to the bottom. Oh, I tried everything, don't worry, I tried. But I couldn't get to the bottom, and I tried big blades. And I just couldn't hook anything. I just couldn't get anything decent. I was just trying different things. Mitch was going well enough, so I thought I'd try and mix it up and get a kicker. I'm sure he's going to get a lot of school fish, so I thought I'd just try to get a kicker, but yeah, we had no luck.
Yeah, it's one of those crazy things. I was fishing for dew once with a big Atomic Shiner 100 and got like a 34 or 35 fork brim while I was chasing dew. And like it's just crazy. So so maybe big paddle tails might be the secret to the upgrades.
Yeah, that's right.
What did you get up to after that? You must have caught a couple of fish in the back end of the day.
Yeah, so we decided to sort of start making our way back to weigh-in as you usually do in these comps where you make the big run. We stopped off, just tried a couple spot places we sort of know, just cast a lure at it, give it a crack. Couldn't jag any decent ones. We went more rock walls closer to the bridges. We tried the bridges, nothing on there. And then I've got a spot that we sort of pulled up at probably 1 o'clock, I reckon. And first 2 casts, I got the same thing, schoolfish. And then we hooked that was our kicker, the 1.19 kilo big brim. I hooked that. It was really funny because I wasn't expecting it to be that big of a fish, but sort of it was a bit of a easy fight, I suppose you could say. Just sort of dead weight came up and yeah, we looked at it, we were like, oh my God, it was huge. It was a massive, and got it in the boat, and that was the end of our brim fishing for the day. Well, not the brim catching, I suppose you could say. But yeah, that was the same thing. It's just, we changed it up a little bit. It was a lot more on the edge than it was sinking him down to the bottom. So a bit of a different technique again, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. And you said it didn't fight. How was it hooked? Do you remember how the hooks were in its mouth?
One treble in the top of its lip. One whole treble. So it had 2 hooks in it. It was nothing, no poor hooks or anything in it. It wasn't side hooked. It was
shaking on it.
Yeah, no, wasn't anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, that wasn't what I expected.
No, it was just like a big winter brim.
Yeah, okay.
Like that whole day, we couldn't work out the fish size based on the fight. It was very unusual. Sometimes we're getting like 27, 28s, thinking they're 33s, 34s, and then we're getting 32s, 31s that you'll think they were 26s. It was very, I couldn't pick it throughout the day. I couldn't pick what size fish it was.
Yeah.
It's very unusual.
I mean, obviously it was a good move in the back end of the day there because the top end of the field was pretty tight. So 300 or 400 grams would have had you back down probably out of the top 10.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, well, that spot, it wasn't say it was a fluke. I've caught my PB brim there. That was a 41 fork, but it was completely different time of year, completely different, lure. So, yeah, it was more so just same thing, spot hopping back towards the weigh-in. I suppose we got lucky at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty good going. What about lines and leaders? What were you guys fishing for the weekend, for the day?
I went 6-pound main and 12-pound leader with the crabbies. Mitch got smoked there once. The only crabby we lost all day, he got smoked. He was on 10, so I went for broke and went with 12. I was still getting fish on 12. It sort of didn't bother them. I heard guys use 16 up there, which it's pretty gnarly country. You can feel your lure like going through the rocks and weeds, and I'd probably bumped up a bit actually, but it's only having that one opportunity for one decent fish. I think that fish that Mitch hooked was definitely a kegger. It sort of took off straight away upriver.
Yeah.
Which usually tells you that it's a decent fish when they go against a current.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't even have a chance, really. Didn't even have a chance.
No.
Nah, that happens. That is brim.
Yeah. All on film too, actually. That 37, I need to go through the footage, but that 37 forker, I'm keen to see sort of a recount for myself, even how that fought. I was very surprised at that. So, yeah.
Sorry, what's the name of your channel again?
Just at Mitchell's Fishing on all the socials. So TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So that'll hopefully be out by the time this podcast is out, hopefully.
Yeah, this will be a couple of weeks from when we record it. So
Yep. Hopefully that'll be out then.
Yeah, very, very cool. All right. So look, all in all, it was enough to bring you back into third place. What did you guys get to take home?
So for the third prize, we got $1,064.
Mm-hmm.
And then Big Bream, we're getting, I believe it's $250 voucher for fishing.com.
Very nice. You can get some more crabs, mate.
Pretty much. Well, yeah, luckily I only lost one. I think pre-fish we did a few more than one, but yeah, definitely we'll be restocking.
Absolutely. All right. Just before we head off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, absolutely. Same as last time. Obviously, Aaron from 22 Gremlin, always supporting me. Grant and the team, New South Wales boys, they were awesome. It was a great event, and obviously Dad once again. The boat was always bringing good karma, so yeah, very thankful for that too. Got anyone you want to thank, Dad?
Well, you, mate, because you obviously got all the fish, so I'm glad you had a good day because I had a shocker. So, yeah, good on you, mate. A good day, cracker day.
Awesome, yeah, it was a good day.
Taught me how to use crabbies, taught me how to use crabs. I'm not a crab man. Yeah, I've converted. I came good about at 10 o'clock.
Very, very.
There's definitely a technique, that's for sure.
There is a technique, and I think the Hawkesbury is one of the greatest places. So,
yeah.
Very good. All right, guys. Well, look, thanks again. Congratulations on another great result, and good luck in the basin.
Thank you, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so coming in second place, we have Team Cronulla, Shipway and Shipwrights. They dropped their fish weighing 4.15, and with me, I have Tim Vickers. Welcome back to the show, mate.
Thanks, Andrew. Good to be back.
Yeah, mate. Good to see you up the top again on the Hawkesbury, no less. How about that?
Yeah, we're having a pretty good year. Fifth place up at the lake, and then second down at Lake Macquarie. So yeah, it's a pretty good start to the season. And the team of the year race is on. There's actually a couple of teams still above us, even though we've had a second and a fifth. So yeah, it's a good start. Yeah.
Wow. Well, there you go. All right. Well, for this one, mate, what did you do for pre-fishing, getting ready? Did you get out and have a look around?
No, we didn't pre-fish. Same with Lake Macquarie, we didn't pre-fish. Just don't have the time at the moment, and kind of feel like we know the system well enough that if we did go out and pre-fish, we probably just burnt fish that we would have maybe caught on the comp day. So I just after the Lake Mac event, I just had a look at the tide chart for the Sunday, saw what the tide was going to be doing, and just basically we knew what we wanted to do, and the tide sort of set up, which let us do that for probably half the day. It was going to be about 10 o'clock low tide. Yeah.
Okay. What was the plan? What were you planning on using?
So just fish the rock walls, heavy cranker crabs that was the plan. We were up there in March 2025, so just over 12 months ago. That was the last time we fished it, and we had a really good day just fishing rock walls and run out tide all day. Yeah.
Okay. Let's dive straight into it. How was the race up there, mate?
Yeah, so we had a good run. I think we started seventh, I think. There was a pretty heavy fog bank coming out of the river, so I had to slow down once we turned sort of to the west to run up the river. But yeah, we got to our first spot. So we started just sort of Flint and Steel area, like the southern side of the river, just down the front, and just fishing a point down there. It's got a pretty steep drop-off, and just working heavy crabs, sinking them deep off the rock wall. So probably something different that we do maybe compared to other teams. We don't fish tight up on the wall. We're sort of targeting like 10 to 30 foot of water. So the point we're fishing, if you look at the shoreline, it's basically just a steep cliff, and that just continues straight down. So even if you're 10 foot off the bank, it's like already 20 foot deep. So it's quite deep. And that's what we're just targeting, like sinking those crabs down as deep as we can, and then just sort of dragging them across the bottom in that deeper water. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And a question just for you personally, like, why feet? Why not meters?
Well, that's just what I have my sounders set up in. I just may not be right. I just feel like there's a more wider band of like between 1 metre and 2 metres compared to 3, 4, 5 feet. I don't know. That's just how I've got them set up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I was curious to see why, because I know with your job, I thought it might have been different.
Yeah. No, it's just what I prefer. Yeah, feet. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. All right. And so when you pulled up, did you get fish straight up? Did you put some in the well?
Probably took us 20 minutes to get our first fish. So we started on, like, we were working into the tide. The tide's running out. The first half of the point, there wasn't a lot of flow and we just didn't get any bites. But we could see sort of halfway around that, like, there was a more of a pressure point. The water was a bit more sort of rippled. You can see more flow of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first 20 minutes we didn't get any bites. We have got fish there before on that first half, but then once we got into that little bit faster water where the current was moving a bit more, I think, once we got into that, Grant got our first fish of the morning on a heavy crab, yeah.
Okay. The structure that you're fishing, is it like lots of boulders or how does it look?
Yeah, it's all boulder. Yeah, it's like a bouldery sort of, it's nearly like an underwater, like a cliff, like real steep drop off, and you can see it on the live and just how many big boulders and stuff are down there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it means that what I'm getting at is there's places where they can hide where they'd be in heavy current, but in no current where they're sitting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. So Grant put the first one in the boat. Was there anything, does it have some substance or?
It was 30 fork. So, like, it was one that you're happy with, had a bit of weight to it, and, like, that probably could have been there at the end of I think it actually was there at the end of the day. So, yeah, it was a decent start, and, like, at least it took sort of knocked the nerves away that, okay, there's a couple of fish here and we've found a bit of an area where there's more fish holding compared to, like, that first 20 minutes. Yeah.
That's right. And no donuts. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How'd you go about getting a couple more?
Yeah, so, like, that, we were sort of holding in that one area or just kept slowly working around the point. I think I actually snagged one up and had to re-rig. Oh. And then first cast back after I re-rigged, I hooked a good one, and that ended up being a 37 fork fish. So that was sort of our sort of first kicker for the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That would have been close to Big Bream, I would have thought.
Yeah. Well, we weighed our two fish, and I don't know which of the two, because we had two big, like, decent ones in the bag, and one was 0.98 and one was, I think, 1.05 or 06 or something. So, yeah, it was just over a kilo, which probably 37 fork, yeah.
37 fork, yeah, which is about right. I mean, in the interviews I've just done recently with the OBT, the 35 forkers were weighing a kilo more or less.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's. I thought it, like, I sort of in my mind I was thinking 1.1 for 37, but it was just a fraction under. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then moving forward, did you persist there for long?
Yeah, well, I think we left there at probably 8:30, so we spent probably the first hour and a half fishing that one point. And by the time we left there, we had 4 fish in the bag. So we had that 30 fork and the 37, and then we had 2 smaller ones, like a 25 fork and I think the other one was a tip length we measured, so it could have been 27 tip or something. But we're starting to get a few fish, and, yeah, it was just basically the same sort of setup, just casting at 45 degrees to that bank, and we went landing tight to the wall, landing it off and just sinking it down as deep as we could and just sort of bouncing it back across the rocks. Yeah.
And you said you would nose into the current. Were you able to sort of cast it up far enough that you could get it to the bottom reasonably, or did you have to slip back?
Yeah, no, there wasn't a lot of wind, and that's what with the heavy crab. And I think the outfits we're using, like, we're able to cast them far enough up there. And it's sort of something I learnt from last time we fished it. I was fishing a bit heavier than Grant, and he caught probably like 5-1 fish at me. Like, he outfished me by a lot.
Yeah,
I was fishing like a 12-pound braid, which is like a PE 0.8 or something. I run Tas line on my reels, and he was just on a PE 0.6 and a 5-pound leader. So that's something different I did this time. They put a 2500 on my duff rod shell and bones instead of the 3000. Yeah. And I think it really helped, because you're surprised when you snag up where you think your crab is. Once you electric up there, a lot of times we try and rattle it back off. You have to go another probably 10 metres up the bank before you actually get on top of it. It's quite deceiving, like, how much belly's in your line when you are drifting them that deep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And how'd you go with your forward facing? Were you able to see the fish and see the crabs? And
not with mine, no. I'd lure detect, like, sort of lure tracking with. I got the Mega Live 1.
Okay.
Lure tracking on it's not the best.
Sure.
And I wasn't seeing a lot of fish on the wall, but you could see the boulders and things like that, so you could see sort of the structure that was down there. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So I think you said you got 4 in the well. What you get up to next?
So basically, the plan was, like, to just chase the tide upriver. So I think it was going to be like a 10 o'clock low down the front. basically by Spencer, it's probably going to be an hour later, and then by Wiseman's, it's probably 2 hours later. So you can chase that, run out tight. That was the plan, start down the front and keep working up the river. So we ran up to probably just past Bar Point, another rock wall at Bar Point, which 12 months ago was probably our most productive spot. And we did get number 5 there, and that was still only like I can't even remember the exact length. It was only a small fish, but we only got that another one fish from that rock wall there at Bar Point. There just wasn't a lot of flow, and like we just weren't seeing many fish there. So we just kept spot hopping up the river. We got like another 4 or 5 rock walls that we fished.
Okay.
And basically, so it was 9 o'clock. We got number 5 in the wells. So happy days. Yeah, pretty early in the day we got number 5. And then moved up to a rock wall just short of Spencer and started fishing there. Was our next spot we went to. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about the Hawkesbury is there's so many places you can fish. There's so many points and rock walls and bits and pieces.
Yeah, well, that's like in the past, like probably 10 years ago, fishing the Hawkesbury, I had spots down the front and I had spots like up towards Wiseman's, and I never had anything in between. It was just because I hadn't spent the time on the river, and like since then I've spent a lot more time putting that together so that I can spot hop up the river, and you just constantly got next spot. You're not wasting time, because like you can run for 50 minutes there at times if you wanted to before you started fishing. Yeah,
that's interesting. All right, so you end up with 5, and tell me about the upgrades. How'd you go about putting some bigger ones in?
The next spot we went to is just before Spencer, just a like pretty smaller rock wall. It doesn't stand out as much as some of the other big like rock wall faces. So just again there we're just working, we're probably in a bit closer than we probably normally would, and initially we weren't getting any bites, and then we shifted out wider and put the boat. So last time I fished the river, I had Mega 360 on the boat. It's since the transducer got water in it, it's failed. I don't have it anymore, but it was perfect. It was probably the best tool. I thought I found it better than the live for fishing up the rock walls up there. And what we learned that day is probably when you get out 40 or 50 foot, there's a line where the rocks will stop and the mud, and then it's basically the mud bottom from the river. And what we were doing was sitting on basically that line. So every cast, we definitely know is going over the rocks, and then we're fishing that entire area.
Yeah.
I didn't have it that time, and just not thinking, we were working a bit closer, so we ended up pushing out into like the boat was in probably 40 foot of water, and then Grant picked up our first upgrade for the day, and it was a 29.5 fork, and it was just, I think the difference was the fish weren't in tight, they were out a lot wider just on that particular wall. But in saying that, we found it really slow up the river. Like we went to one more rock wall and we bailed out from up the river. We didn't feel like it was going to do enough for us.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. After that point, like after you finished off up the river, did you have time to fish down the lower end again?
Yeah. So probably 11 o'clock we turned and headed back. So after that rock wall before Spencer, Grant got the 29.5, which is our first upgrade of the day. We went to the rock wall at Spencer, and we spent probably 30 to 40 minutes there, and we only got the one bite there, but it was a 32 fork that Grant put in the boat. So if we hadn't got that 32 fork, I would have thought it was a waste of time going up the river, but we got that one upgrade, so we're still sort of positive about it all. Yeah,
that's interesting. And obviously in the context of the competition, like every upgrade made a difference because it was really close.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's it. We ended up getting one nice upgrade or late. That's exactly what we thought. We were only, 15 grams or something ahead of third place. So like every little upgrade we made during the day was so crucial. Yeah,
that's right. And then in the back end, does that round out your bag, or was there more to come?
That was 11 o'clock. So we had a little hot flurry like for the last hour or two. We sort of made a good decision in 2 places, and that put 2 more good fish into the bag. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you basically fish crabs all day. Is that pretty much how it rolled?
For the majority of it. So once we left Spencer, our plan was to go back down to where we started, and we thought the incoming tide would have pushed in, maybe a bit more clear water on that point. Maybe that might have turned them back on there, because we did have a okay little session down there in the morning. But when we got there, the tide was still pushing out, and the water was, I think, with the clear water coming out of Cowan and then the dirty water out of the main river. It was like a real weird colour of the water there. The bottom of the tide, it was still running out, and we just didn't feel, well, we didn't get any bites, and we're like, okay, we need to think of where we can go that there's going to be fish biting, given that there's not a lot of run, there's no wind, and like there's not a lot of conditions that are going to turn the fish on. Like I don't really follow the bite windows like you talk about at the start of the podcast, but it's sort of like our decision was we're going to go to Box Head. There's a bit of swell. There's going to be whitewater there, so that's something that the fish will still like might be biting in, and that was the reason we went to Box Head. Like there's going to be whitewater. There's something we need to that's going to make the fish want to bite. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And did it work?
Yeah. So as soon as we got there, so normally in the past, like we've fished the washes on the Hawkesbury a lot, and most of it we'd always fish like a 1/12 or a 1/16 jig head with like a gulp shrimp or a gulp crawl. But the swell was pretty small. It was like less than a metre, but there's still enough whitewater there, and we already had the crabs rigged up on the boat, and Grant had a mussel on one of his rods, so he decided to throw the mussel, and I threw the crab, and pretty much straight away I got a bite. Pretty much like the first little bit of whitewater we fished, but I ended up dropping the fish, and I sort of found that a lot there. I didn't convert a lot of fish. I got a fair few bites on the crab, but I found it hard to convert. Whether in the whitewater the crabs sort of swaying around and they were actually just biting the crab rather than the claws just being up not how they normally would present, and it just didn't convert as well. But Grant got a couple of bites on the mussel, and one of them he was a 35.5 fork fish that we got there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was that then, because I'm trying to work out how your bag played out, was that the sort of last upgrade?
No, we still got another up. Like we had our last 40 minutes where like I'll get to that in a second, and so it sort of got onto something, and it was actually like a red hot sort of last 40 minutes we got onto. But yeah, just back to that fish that Grant got on the mussel. It's just something with in the past or when you were growing up, people taught you to pump and wind when you're catching a fish. Whereas as soon as he hooked this fish, rod tip high in the air and just kept winding against the drag because we're fishing on a rocky, like the washes, like in the fish, and we're casting sort of 10 centimetres off the rock. So if the fish gets him in a little bit further, it's going to snap him off straight away.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was just straight away just winding, like the drag's peeling, but you just keep winding. And that's the benefit with the team events. I'm always straight on the electric, get the boat out, start working away. And yeah, so as soon as it turns its head the right way, you're already winding rather than you get it coming straight away. So it was like it was a big fish, and he did so well to get it out of like the spot where he had it. Yeah.
And he would have been on 5 pound leader.
Yeah, 5 pound leader. Yeah, we both fished 5. That's it. Especially in the washes as well. I think there's too much water pushing around. You don't want the heavier leader. I've always found 4 and 5 in the washes is what we fish. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. What's the next bit? I'm keen to see where this headed.
Yeah, so then after that we had, like it was I think about 1 o'clock we left Box Head, and the plan was to go to Pittwater and just fish boats for the last hour. And as we were running across, the wind started to pick up. Like there was forecast for about 10 to 15 knots out of the northeast to pick up. So we're heading back, and there was a little bit of wind. So I'm like, I'm going into the car park. We'll go into the car park, and we'll spend like 20 minutes there, and then we'll go fish boats for 20 minutes. And pretty much mowed it in there, put the electric down, and we were sort of just electric-ing towards the beach, and I was just going to turn around. It was probably blowing more east, like the wind was east, so it was blowing straight off the beach
out.
Right. So, I wanted to go into the beach and then spin around and get on the wind and start drifting back out. But just before I was about to turn back around, like as I said, with the forward-facing sonar, I just spotted this big patch of fish straight in front of us.
Yeah, wow.
I had the hybrid shrimp on, and Grant had a sprat on, and both of us threw in at the patch of fish, double hook up. Grant landed his, but my fish, within the first 10 seconds, it fell off, or I dropped it. And then when I wound it in, looking at the hybrid, the front or the middle treble was basically straightened out. And I was thinking, like, I'm fishing 3 pound straight through fluoro, and I didn't have him on for that long. And for that treble to be so straight, I honestly think that another fish actually ripped the lure off the fish. I don't know, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. Like the treble was like dead straight, like it was straightened right out. I don't think it had both trebles, but anyway, I lost that first fish, and Grant landed a small one. It didn't help with the bag.
Okay.
And then basically I should have changed the treble, but I just got pliers and sort of bent it back around and then got back on the electric, found the fish again, threw out, sunk it down, and then straight away loaded up. And because we're in such shallow water, I saw the fish roll on the surface straight. I'm like, this is a big fish.
Yeah.
Or it's a good one. Yeah. So pretty good fight in shallow water. Ended up putting it in the net. It was 36 forks. So in the end, like you said, that got us second place, basically, that fish.
Yeah, wow. Well, it was definitely a building of the bag. Like you started off with the bag and then all day you've kind of put in a little bit.
Yeah, because it wasn't like we had like a red hot day. It was just we had to keep working all day. Yeah, it wasn't like we found a hot one pattern. It was just, we had to keep building.
Yeah. And it's interesting. So it sounds like you obviously saw those fish just at the last second before you swung around and probably cast the other direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that plan was just to drift with the wind. Like that's how I'd fish the flats. But in the end, we spent 30 to 40 minutes just chasing this school, whether it was the one school or we just kept finding a school. There was a bit of bait on the flats there. But I think we put 4 or 5 fish in the boat there, but Grant did hook a big fish. He was throwing a jackal chubby. I was throwing the hybrid shrimp, and the wind did get pretty strong. Like it was probably got up to about 15 knots. And I think that's the advantage, like for me with the hybrid shrimp into the wind, that thing was it just cast like, so I was picking the fish up probably, like I said, I got it's set to 100 feet, probably when they're about 50 foot out and would start casting at them. Grant was like struggling to get the chubby to punch it out into the wind, whereas with the hybrid shrimp, I could get it out to those fish. Like it casts like a bullet into the wind, that thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you were using, I think, last year in the Open. Is that right?
Yeah. So exact same outfit that I had at the Open. I had the Daiwa 7'8" rod and the hybrid shrimp. Yeah. Exact same outfit.
Crazy. Very good.
Yeah. Grant did hook one big fish. Like it was the exact same on the chubby, and it was the same thing, sort of roll on the surface. And I hooked up at the exact same time. We knew his was the bigger fish, so I sort of just had to let his play out. And I ran up the back of the boat to pick up the net. The boat ended up drifting like beam onto the wind, sort of away from the fish. And Grant was like, it was half a second away from being in the net, and the hook pulled, and the lure came like flying back past my head. In the end, I don't think it would have been enough to beat what Scott weighed in, but at the time, like it could have been another kilo fish and would have got rid of that 30 fork. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think because it was a double hookup and like it was a bit of mayhem, the boat's drifting away from the fish, just that bit of extra pressure on it, and for whatever reason, just come flying out.
Yeah. That's a really interesting day. Like you've done a bit of everything. You've done deep, you've done the car park, you've done washes.
Yeah, well, the plan was always fish that run out tide with the crabs on the rock balls, and then I always had in the back of my mind by 10 or 11 o'clock, the tide's going to stop. We're going to need to have something else. So when I was rigging up the night before, I rigged up a heap of rods for the rock walls, and then I'm like, I'm actually going to have to bring all the other rods with everything else just in case, because it's like it's not going to stick all day for us.
Yeah, it's interesting. The car park's an interesting place. Like over the years, there's been so many people do well and win comps out of there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I made the mistake years ago that not just starting there and running way up the river, and the tide wasn't right, and I was like, I should have just always started at the car park and then, or at least give it a go. Yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, I reckon that's a pretty great account. I think, to be fair, I think we covered everything. What do you guys get to take home for second?
$1,770. Pretty good little payday. Yeah.
Pretty solid, mate. Are we going to see you at the Open this year?
Yeah. I've got Mantry in. Yeah. I'll be
Very
there.
Good.
Yeah, that's the next comp. Yeah. Yeah. Can't wait. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the Open is a spectacle. And are you back up? You're going to do the ABT Hawkesbury?
No. I'll just be doing the Open. Yeah.
All right. Very good. All right, mate. Look, last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out, say thank you to?
Yeah, probably just my wife and Grant's wife as well. Yeah, they're at home with the kids all day. We do live in Sydney, so it was only a one-day comp, but still a pretty long day by the time you get the boat washed up and everything. So they're at home with the young kids. So, yeah, definitely the wives. And then just really want to thank Grant for getting the New South Wales tournament series going. I think it was something that was missing. a 5-fish bag team event in New South Wales, and now we're getting down to Malakuta, so it's a bit like the Southern Bream series in the past. So I think when the Betts and Southern Bream or Berkeley series both finished up, I think it was something that's missing, and I think Grant's doing a great job. It ran smoothly, the weigh-in was fast, and I think got 44 boat at the Hawkesbury, so the numbers are getting better. So he's done a great job with it.
Yeah, very good. And will we see you at the basin?
No. I've got the Open, I think it's the week before, and then I go back to work, and I'll be working that Saturday, Sunday, and I can't really take those 2 days leave. So
sure.
I think there's 6 events for the year. The top 5 events go towards the grand final and team of the year. So we'll just fish those last few events, and won't be at the basin, unfortunately. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Well, mate, congratulations on another good result, and thanks for coming on.
Perfect. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, mate.
See you, mate.
Okay, so finally in first place, I have Scott and Cole Wilson. They dropped 5.03 for their 5 fish, taking out the comp. So I'd like to welcome to the Bream Fishing Project, Scott and Cole. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks, Andrew. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah.
Very good to see you both. It's definitely, like I was saying to Scott a bit earlier, it's definitely one of my favourite things where father and sons get out in the water and fish together and do something together as a team. I reckon it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, it's been good. So we've been able to do that now with the New South Wales Teams Tournament. We started doing a few events together, and it's been good.
That's it. You travelled together to Tassie just the last couple of weeks, so you've been busy.
Yeah, been on the road for a while. So, had a couple of weeks down there doing that and just tack this on the end and decided to fish Hawkesbury on the way home.
Okay, fair enough. And tell me, when you're on the boat, who's the captain? Who's steering the ship?
It's definitely me. Yeah.
He keeps me down the back of the boat most of the time.
So
he gets backboated a bit.
You're a non-boater no matter where you go.
Pretty much, yeah.
Fair enough. Well, hey, whatever works, because obviously you guys were a standout in this comp. Like you're about 1 kilo in front or just under. So that's pretty outstanding, I reckon.
Yeah, it's surprising. I thought there'd be some tight bags up around that 5 kilo mark, but it must have been just fishing a bit tough that weekend. But you never know on the Hawkesbury.
You don't. Anyway, let's go back a bit. So in terms of pre-fishing or getting ready, did you guys get a chance to get out at all?
No.
Nothing
at all. We weren't meant to be back for this event, actually. I was still meant to be in Tassie. And I tried to come back. I had to come back a day early on the Friday night to try and make it, and there was no spots available. So it was only a last minute something come up on the Spirit of Tassie. So I came back across on the Friday night, and then Saturday drove from Melbourne to Sydney and got there that night and just tied a few litres and that was it. So
wow,
we missed the pre-fish day for it. So there's none of that. And it's pretty much exactly a year since I fished it last. So, so last May, done the ABT there. So I was just working off that. So it's been a year. It should be doing the same thing, the same time of year. I'm just going to go and do what I did then.
Yeah, okay. Well, it seemed to work for you. So what do you guys have tied on? Were you planning on fishing deep, or what was the plan?
Just crabs. So I had tied on. Rigged up 2 rods and I had crabs on both of them, and that was it. I was just going to go and fish rock walls of crabs. Okay,
and you're the same, Cole?
No, I set up crab on one rod, hard body, a deep diving hard body, because Scott, I asked him, we're going to do flats. He said no. And also I put on a plastic, a grub. So I had options just in case we weren't getting them on one thing, or I could swap to something else just to try and work out what they may be after.
Sure. Well, let's head off Saturday morning. Tell us about what you got up to. How did you go about catching a couple?
Yeah, so just straight up, headed up the river, and we're fishing sort of the back end, top of the river up near the boundary type thing. And we're going to fish a few different rock walls up there. So the first one we pulled up on, I was probably within half a dozen casts. I boated my first fish, and that was a kilo fish.
Okay.
And then about 2 or 3 casts after that, Dad boated a kilo fish as well.
Yeah, right.
We had two really good ones in there straight away. So that that sort of gave us the confidence that, okay, this is the right plan. I'm going to stick this out for the day now.
And it surprised us, to get 2 fish quickly and 2 good fish. And I thought this is going to be great, but it didn't stay like that.
Fair enough. And did you both get them on crabs first up?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. How'd you go about, like, you sort of said that it slowed down a little bit. What happened then?
Yeah, so we started catching a few fish. We got our bag there for that first spot where we stopped, and so the other 3 were just smaller. They might have been late 24kers or something like that. They were, and it was a very timid bite. So you're getting a few bumps and rattles, but it was really hard to actually hook up on a fish. They were super timid. So yeah, we did have to work away there to try and slowly start getting a few upgrades, and then started moving around a few different walls as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we just basically chased the same thing. We're looking for the same rocky edges with some reefy structure down the bottom, and we just started moving around to different places doing this, just mimicking the same thing.
Yeah.
And we just kept consistently picking up fish, doing that slowly. But yeah, we just found out to keep moving to try and get some fresh fish that, were a bit more keen to bite.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, like Scott said, they were very timid, and I even tried the plastic.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that might have changed, that made him a little bit more aggressive. But same thing, very, very timid. Just they'd grab it and just give it a little bump and then maybe let it go, maybe hold it for a bit, but that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were difficult to hook them up.
Okay. And are you guys fishing high current flow, like you've in areas where it's hard to get to the bottom?
Yeah, some spots were and others weren't. So like I said, we did move around a bit. So some corners had a fair bit of current and you couldn't get to the deep sections of it, where other parts, just to do with how the river was, you could actually get the bottom. The current slowed a little bit on some areas. So it was a bit of a mixture. So sometimes we could fish deep and other times we were up against the wall, fishing the wall section.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. And is it like, I'm trying to picture how this looks. Is it the situation where you're kind of drifting back slowly on the current, casting up current and just letting it, just dragging that crab back? Is that how it kind of works?
Yeah. Ideally, that's how you want to fish it. That's how I started fishing it. Started getting a few boats up there throughout the morning though, and they all seemed to just want to spot lock. So all of a sudden now you had everyone spot locked on the wall. You couldn't drift, so you weren't getting to the bottom anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were doing those short drifts, you weren't getting enough bottom time, especially with the timid fish, to really convince them to bite. So that did make it a lot harder to fish. And ultimately I had to start moving to different walls to try and give myself some more drift room.
Yeah, yeah. And I forgot to ask you, I was thinking when you headed off, I can't remember what boat you're in, but are you getting up there pretty quick?
Yeah, I was the last boat to leave because I entered so late. But yeah, we were the second boat up there, so we got up there.
You did all right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. So you got your bag, say low 28 forkers, 28, 29 forkers. How'd you go about getting some better ones?
Nothing different really. I just persisted. Like I said, because I got those couple of better fish there, and I knew that the fish were there, I just decided to keep at it. There will be more of them. So it was pretty much rinse and repeat. We just kept at it. And I just kept trying fresh walls.
Mm-hmm.
And each time we got one of these bigger fish, it was always when we went to a fresh wall.
Okay.
So something we hadn't drifted over. And I think it was just because they were so timid, they didn't want any pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I was throughout the whole day, I was rotating different crabs. I was using both the 50 mils and the 65 mils, rotating between. I was rotating between different colours, different scents. I was just always trying to give a different presentation because I was so timid. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What about yourself, Cole? Do you get anything on anything else? Do you get any on plastics at all?
Yeah, I think I might have got a couple on plastics, but they're only in the 20s.
Yeah.
The sort of mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
That was all. Yeah.
Yeah. I always wonder, like, you have these comps where they are dominated by crabs, about whether it's exactly the presentation or if you do put a plastic down there, will you get the bite? But I guess it's kind of maybe, if that makes sense.
Yeah. We have struck it before. You can be getting them on, say, crabs one day or hard bodies, Next day, they won't even touch them. They'll only take plastics.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to try a couple of different lures to find out what they may be interested in.
Yeah, fair enough. While you guys were bouncing around these walls, did you lose any that you think would have made it, put a bigger fish in the well?
Probably not bigger, I don't think. Might have got another one the same. Like I said, I ended up with 3 fish. They were all 35 forks, or 35 and a half they were. And I don't think I'll do it bigger than that, maybe equally the same.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like there was any real big ones. Because it was such a timid bite, I did pull the hooks on a few. I was fishing really heavy doing this, so yeah, I didn't give them anything. So a few times I did pull hooks on good fish, but I don't think they would have been much better than that.
Sure. And when you say really heavy, what's that mean?
So the rod I had, it was like it's an Atomic Arrows. I think they call it their medium one.
Yeah, okay.
It's got a lot of grunt. It's a bit of a broomstick. It doesn't give it all really.
Yeah. And
I was using a 10-pound leader with that. So yeah, and I think the reel was a 2,500 high speed. It was a Daiwa Fugo.
Okay.
So I could really crank. There was lock drag, and I just hook into them straight away. So yeah.
Yeah, wow. So when you turn their head, you're just trying to rip that thing out of the water as quick as you can.
Yeah. I'm trying to rip its jaw out. That's it. I've learned from experience up there doing fish in this same spot, and I've just been done so many times. They brick you, and you'll land the all right fish, but the proper really big fish, they brick you up there. So
yeah,
you can't hold back. You can't give them an inch, and you got to turn them real quick because it's just so reefy and bouldery, and yeah, they do you.
Yeah. That's pretty exciting fishing then, because when you hook them, it's all on, and it's over in seconds.
That's right. Yeah, and once I got them off, like it's deep water up there. You're fishing sort of 10 metres of water and stuff like that. So once I can get them up, say halfway up the water column, I do then back the drag off, just especially after pulling a few hooks to try and help myself. But certainly to start with, like it's all or nothing.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Very cool. All right. So then how'd you go about rounding out your bag? Because you must have had a couple of better ones there.
Yeah, we ended up with, we probably would have had 4 good fish, those kilo ones, and we had a 31 fork in the boat, probably by, it was guessing mid-morning or something, like 10:30 or something like that, it would have been at a guess. And it took till 1 o'clock when same thing, just decided to move to a new wall and pulled up, and straight away I got that another kilo fish. So that round out had 5 of them, and yeah, then I was pretty happy with that. I thought we'd be in the money there somewhere then. So still not confident being the Hawkesbury, but I knew it'd be pretty close to one of the leaders then.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, that just sealed the deal. But I think if you had a 31 forker, you probably would have won anyway.
Yeah, I would have. Like looking back now at the weights, it would have been enough. But yeah, you just don't feel confident there because you know the fish that are around.
100%. Yeah, it could have easily been a 6 kilo bag out of the Hawkesbury.
Yeah.
Just not this weekend. So.
Yeah, that's right.
I was surprised myself that there wasn't more, better bags, around what we had or better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, me too. When Grant shot the weights through, I looked at it and went, I'm surprised there wasn't a lot more high 4s at least. So
yes.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on there at the moment in the system, but yeah, I don't know. They just mustn't be really stacked up doing their thing yet.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good for you. Anyway.
Yeah.
Tell us for this one, what you get to take home.
We got first prize was $3,200, so that was pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, very, very good.
Covers the fuel bill for the trip away, I suppose. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say it's an expensive trip to Tassie, so.
Yeah, that's right. So no, it's a good way to wrap that whole trip up, really. So
100%.
Finish on a high of a win and a few dollars to pay that. So it's all good.
I'm going to say it's a good day's work if you can get it.
Yeah, that's right.
Very good. All right, guys. Well, look, thanks for coming on. Just before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, well, family at home, to give us the time, to let us go away. That's a big thing. And yeah, for me, out of it, to finish up the way we did and to win the event with my son, that's a big thing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That was like really pleasing for me. Yeah.
Very, very good.
Yeah, so no, it's like I said, it's good to be able to do that as a father-son team. So that's pretty good to lock that in. And yeah, and also to Grant, he's put on a good event, so he's done a great job of that. It's filled a gap, there was a bit of left there after the Berkeley series, so he's done a great job of filling that in, and it's a well-run event, so thanks to him too.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Grant as well, because there was a gap that needed filling, and it's working out very well for him. Yeah,
and I think that's exactly right.
And also Mark, who comes along and helps him assist to do it all. Otherwise, Grant couldn't do it on his own either. Yeah,
does a great job.
So both Grant and Mark do an excellent job.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Look, thanks so much for jumping on. I really appreciate your time, and good luck in the next one.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that one. Now, the New South Wales Tournament Series, their round 3 is going to be down in the basin right at the end of the month, so maybe a week or so after this one comes out, on the 30th or maybe the 31st of May. I especially want to thank the anglers. I had a very short time period to get this one done, and the guys were really, really good, and we got this one knocked out very quickly. So I appreciate that. Apart from that, I'm going to thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week on the Bream Fishing Project.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully you were informed, inspired and entertained. If you were able to learn something or just enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing and rate us on your favourite podcasting platform.